Herzlich willkommen zum Veritas-Webinar. Heute geht es um das Buch Cambridge Global English. Es ist 17 Uhr, das heißt, wir wollen jetzt wirklich pünktlich starten. Wer sind wir? Mein Name ist Lukas Neubauer, ich bin Lehrer an einer Mittelschule im Südburgenland und bin auch beim Lemberger Verlag im Bereich des Digitalen tätig. Ich fungiere heute als Moderator. Ich möchte nun das Wort an unsere heutige Referentin übergeben.
Ja, Lukas, vielen Dank für die einleitenden Worte. Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, ich freue mich, Ihnen heute Cambridge Global English vorstellen zu dürfen und gehe dann natürlich gleich weiter. And that means I can switch into English, which is much more easier for me because it's my first language. So a very warm welcome to the presentation today. So what's going to happen, or what should you expect? First of all, I would really like you to take you on a trip, and that definitely means take you out of your comfort zone, and that means it's a bit of a change you're going to experience now, and I'm very happy that I am able to do that. We have to tackle a couple of topics first, and that's why I would like to ask you this question. Can there be something new? Can there be a new book? So if you look at the staircase on the left-hand side, it definitely shows that in the past years, we are going round and round and round. And the big question I've asked myself, for the past 20 years, do the children now know when to use third-person singular S? Or has anything changed? Are they better in the use of English from a grammatical point of view? This is a big question I have been asking myself for the past really 20 years. And for me, there can be a new book on the market and there can be a big change, but it's a spiral. It's a staircase. You walk up on the first floor after the first year, second floor, and so on and so forth. So at the moment, it's for me like going round and round, but not really getting up on the top. So for me today, please do two things. Number one, be open. Be open for something totally new. And then number two, stay critical, ask yourselves a couple of questions, and then I'm also happy to answer your questions. So, first of all, Cambridge Global English is a complete new book, and it consists of a learner's book and an activity book. Both of them have 10 units, and they go literally parallel. So it's a great working together, switching from activity book to learner's book and back and forth. That is absolutely a very easy way to deal with. But getting into detail is a bit too much at the moment. So let me introduce the new curriculum first. I'm quite sure you have heard a couple of things about the new curriculum. First of all, we have comprehensive topics. Every new school book needs to have 5 different comprehensive topics. That's media studies, political education, economy and consumer education, education and life science studies, entrepreneurship education. All these 5 topics need to be tackled in every school book for secondary lower education. And then we have so-called overall topics. But generally, honestly speaking, it's business as usual. There's not so much change as we hoped for, but depending on comprehensive topics, that's it. How or what did we do in Global English? First of all, on every page, you see the competencies: reading, writing, listening, speaking, and so on and so forth. You know that. That's daily business. But we have these wee little numbers here on the right or on the left-hand side. These are the so-called assigned competences. This is according to the A1 language level. And here we really go into detail, and you can look it up when you see number 7 or 8 or 10 or 25 or 38. What does it stand for according to, for example, A1 listening competences? And you can look it up. On the right-hand side, you also see the overall topic I've just explained. This is part of the new curriculum where we try to include all 5 different overall topics, and you've got a little wee icon, and that helps you to really find your way through the book. But I have found out during the last years that it's not really well known what children should know by the end of primary education. So let us quickly start there, because children should end at an A1 level, should come close to that. So basically no present tense, negation, and how to frame questions. I'm sure you have all different levels in your classroom, and we need to work on that. We need to get them a bit closer together right at the beginning of the book. So we thought about of getting children after elementary faster into this first stage level, so you can work with, and they're just more or less, it's an equilibrium. At the moment, it's not, and you have to try to get that. So we also teach children of the 21st century, and what does it mean? It definitely means there are great delays in speech production, so onset speech. They have problems in reversal. In problems in writing, in reading. So there's a lot of reversal of letters, mirror writing, but they also lack a phonological awareness. There are a lot of reasons behind that, but generally, please understand that the children of the 21st century in 2023 are different to the children 20 years ago. And taking all that again into consideration, this results in difficulties in summarizing texts, in memory, memorization, reading out aloud, or really learning a second language. So yes, there is a possible way out. Choose a different book. This is my advice. Of course, I have to give you this advice. I'm sorry to do that. But always ask yourself, what's the benefit for the student when you choose a new book? And in this new book, I try to give a lot of learning tips from a neuroscience point of view, because this is what I specialized in. So not only English, but also neuroscience. So I would love to give you a lot of advice for that, and you will find those in the book, but also in the teacher's resource book. In the first period of learning, we always push children into speaking. Please don't do that, because it's not natural for the brain. It literally means for you speak and the kids listen. Children need time to develop, they need time to listen to the English language, and that's what we try to do. We try to give children a certain kind of flow in their heads and in their ears, and slowly but gradually that will eventually get them into the speaking process. And then after a bit of time, you need patience for that, but it will come. Believe me, it will come. And never translate. Please never translate. Stick to English only. I give you one advice. It doesn't hurt children physically, so you'll be on the safe side. When we come to the next point, I would like to give you an overview. There is a learner's book. It's an ebook, ebook plus. There's an activity book, ebook, ebook plus, yes. And there will be an English trainer, and there also will be something digital where you can do all your tests. Yes, we're going to have that. But I can't show you everything today. We concentrate on the books. Within the books, we use learning analytics. So whenever they do anything in the ebook plus, you can see how children master their homeworks. But we also included motivating animated short dialogues. I'm not a fan of writing a lot of dialogues in books because it's very unnatural to read a dialogue. So it's more natural to listen to a dialogue, just as like on YouTube videos. So for that reason, I would like to go on and show you an example of one of our creative animated dialogues. So I quickly switch, okay? So bear with me. So I would like to show you this one now. Here it is. So
Hi, Miss
here we
Turner.
go.
How are you?
Hi, Max. I'm fine. What's this?
Oh, that's a photo of my grandparents' old house.
It looks old. Do your grandparents still live there?
No, not anymore. My aunt is living there now.
Where is it?
It's in Poland, in the mountains. Look, there was even a ski lift.
Ah. Did you go there when you were little?
Sure, many times. I even went skiing there.
Sounds great. Where do your grandparents live now?
Gran and Grandpa moved to a little apartment in the city some years ago.
I guess it is more comfortable.
Yes, that's right. But I still visit them and we have great fun together.
Say hi from me.
I will, as soon as I see them again.
But they don't know me.
They will soon. May I?
Now they will.
So this was just a short introduction into our animated dialogues, which we believe are more of the 21st century children. So it's a very natural way of talking to each other. We use a global approach. So we talk about children whose parents or grandparents come from a different country. So we try to introduce also different first languages on a very simple level. And we try to make them short, but to the point, and they can listen to them again and again, how videos work. It's still very unnatural for a 10-year-old to listen to a dialogue of real people because they never do that. They never watch, at the age of 10, they rarely watch a video or any kind of Netflix series in English. So, and if they do, they always have the German or the English subtitles. But that doesn't train the listening competence. So listening competence are competences are really trained when you do not have subtitles. So this is part of the whole package deal where we have these dialogues being really dropped here and there so children get more into the listening and experiencing mode of learning a new language. What does the learner's book really boil down to? So first of all, after 4 years of learning with Cambridge Global English, you will have a test on completion. I'll come to that at the end. In this book series, we really focus on critical thinking and problem-solving skills. I believe this is the future, and children need to learn to observe and to react and to memorize, but then use this knowledge to solve problems that are similar to the ones they've just done. We also want to push global awareness. So this definitely is the future, although everybody starts shouting, oh my God, it's globalization and it's just too much. But I don't think it's too much. We just need to pick certain topics that children can work with at this very young age. We'll give a lot of learning strategies. We need to do that because some of the competences children start at school and that they don't get these competences from home, and we need to teach them that as well. And in this book, children become very creative. We do not want to stop children becoming creative, because we need creativity to trigger their minds as well. So when you start teaching with Cambridge Global English, you start with Unit 0. Unit 0 is more or less the unit where you try to get the children from all different levels of primary school all together on one level, where you can compensate the basic vocabulary of primary school. So numbers and colors and school items and clothes and family members, body parts, pets and food. That's it. There is a whole unit where you just put everything in. It's like a big cauldron, and you just go round and round, and then you heave a spell, and that's it. That's exactly what we do. We try to get them on one level within the first unit, and that's why we call it 0. It is a different approach because we want to get a bit further, a bit faster, and at the beginning we just need to get them on one level. From a grammatical point of view, we focus on articles, plural nouns, and subject pronouns, and that's it. I give you a couple of examples. Every unit, by the way, has the same structure. So we start with think about it, but I come to that when I explain Unit 6. This is just a quick wrap up of the Unit 0. You will find sort of gram slams. Gram slams are quick and dirty grammar inputs with a short German sentence to explain things. We don't want to frighten children because of grammar. We want them to understand. And this unit is something where children from primary school can come up and say, oh, I've done that, I've heard that, yeah, I feel comfortable with it. That's what we want. We want children to memorize easy, cheesy things from primary school. And that's what we do. So there is a little dialogue. As I said, I'm not such a great fan of reading out dialogues, but there is a little dialogue for the children to listen to and to fill in words. We also do not support a lot of gap filling work, so you won't find that as much as in other books, but we use a bit of a different approach. So this is just the first unit, as I said, a big wrap up of elementary school, and I would like to tackle a bit of key features of activity book and of our learner's book. The learner's book all start with a sort of summary and an agenda. I mean, you know that, that's nothing new. Every book has got that. But what we'll do is we introduce the topic, and this is, for example, this one is about bugs and insects. We use general topics, is more cross-curricular than other books. We use general topics, and every unit has 6 subdivisions, okay? And we call them lessons. So every unit has 6 lessons. And the first lesson is always called Think About It. And in this lesson, 2 pages, it's a double page. You always start with working on vocabulary. Very multimodally. So that means there's always something visual. There's a big picture. We can try and find out what the words could be. There's always a little poem or chant or rhyme. That's more the reading part. And there's always a listening exercise. There is a song. There's a dialogue we can listen to and pick out the words. It's more or less the introduction of the major primary words we go through in this unit. On the next page, so it's the right-hand side of the book, you will always find that we go into detail. So we pick out the words, we give it a name, we give it a picture, and we give it a sound. So you will see on the first 2 pages, you have a lot of listening comprehension. There's a lot of listening going on. And as I said before, this is one of the key features of Cambridge Global English, that we really work on the listening competences. The second lesson of every unit is called Find Out More. Here we use the vocabulary, we use the first phrases we started with, and now we go a bit more into detail. There are short texts and questions, and we try to introduce more reading activities and also, again, more listening activities, but the texts become longer and more vocabulary is probably introduced by doing that. So when we get into detail of the lesson 2, we also have reading and writing exercises, sometimes also drawing exercises, sometimes looking online for information. Lesson 3. Lesson 3 is really focused on words and sounds. And as you know, English is a phonetic language. And that definitely means we need to train the ear and we need to try and find out how words and sounds really go together. And that's what we are doing in lesson 3, called Words and Sounds. And in lesson, so I carry on, in lesson 4, it's called Use of English. What does use of English mean? Use of English means we introduce grammar, but always in context. So the texts become a bit more, again, more in detail, and there are more activities, a lot of speaking activities start, but there is also a wrap up of the grammatical points. Here, for example, question words, which are part of the whole unit anyway. But now in this lesson number 4, we really boil it down. So it's a step-by-step, getting more and more into detail, and that's what I like. This is a nice way of learning a new language. In lesson number 5, this is called Read and Respond. The texts here really are much longer than before. That means dealing with the text, but also, as you can see here, drawing a story map. What's the problem? Finding a solution. So this is about reading comprehension. We've put a lot of focus on how to get children into reading comprehensively. I would like to go on with the last lesson, and that's called Choose a Project. That's number 6. In Choose a Project, we give children the possibility to either do it on their own, in pairs, in groups. Choose a project. There's a lot of global awareness. We give learning strategies, how to memorize. We give a lot of tips around the topic learning. And that should help children to also focus on working maybe on their own or in pairs. Again, supporting social competences. So this is the third project, for example, writing a letter. So giving children the possibility to choose, but also giving the teacher the possibility to become creative within class structures. And of course, at the end, there's also, look what I can do. You tick what they have learned, and that should help them to understand where they might need more support or not. Oh, sorry, that was too fast. At the end of the book, we'll find a picture dictionary. This is a whole collection of the words from primary school with a sentence and pictures, so children really get an idea of what should I know. And there's, to individualize, to personalize, you can give children advice, look at these words. Maybe it helps if you see the pictures, and it is a good start into supporting children who didn't have English in primary school, although they should have, I have to say, I have to admit that. So coming to the activity book, as I said, at the end, you will find a big grammar section. That's good. But the activity book, and I don't want to stick on grammar too much, but grammar is grammar. There's nothing you can do about it. We really focus on the basics, as every school book does. So I don't want to stay too long on that. But what's important is every unit from the learner's book has a kind of mirror structure or in the activity book. You won't get new vocabulary. You won't get any kind of new topics in the activity book. This is shared to support your work of the learner's book, and it helps children to relearn, to repeat, to maybe see things from a different angle. And I'll give you an example in a minute. Again, in the activity book, we start with lesson 1, think about it. Again, a very creative way of going through the vocabulary, for example, of a cricket. And then this is something I would like to point out. Critical thinking and problem solving. I don't know if you've ever come across a Venn diagram. A Venn diagram is absolutely brilliant because children need to learn, for example, trying to differentiate a spider with an insect, an ant. So, for example, here they have to write down only true for ants. Down here, only true for spiders. Well, what do they have in common? So this also goes into the direction of comprehensive reading. So if you give children a Venn diagram to understand what is different, what they have in common, it also boils down to, all right, children learn to read for the gist and to read for facts. And that's part of comprehensive reading. There are a lot of crosswords, there are a lot of reading, coloring, trying to find out what do words have in common. So when it comes to words and sounds, I like that very much. In use of English, again, we take the grammar from the learner's book, repeat it, maybe give more information, give a little wrap up here when we have a look at the language tip about plural nouns. That definitely helps them to find out in which way children go. Read and response, again, we have got the same story, but more questions, trying to help children to understand what the story is about. And it's a good way of giving children homework, giving them a whole book where they can write, where they can use that to have a whole collection of their work and not just loose pieces of paper. Finally, of every activity book, instead of project work in the learner's book, we have a quiz. This is already a good start with how does a test look like? And that helps slowly but gradually to get children the feeling of, okay, a test is not such a difficult venture. You first of all listen, and then you listen and write, and you read, and slowly but gradually children get into the mood of, all right, it doesn't sound so bad to have a test in English. And of course, that's what I talked about. We have a test of completion. Children will get a certificate by Cambridge Cambridge University Press. We're at the moment writing on how the procedure will be. So far, I can tell you that with every Cambridge certificate, children can, or teachers at the end of year 4 can try and get a certificate. Every child has to pay for that. We don't know about the price yet, so we're still in discussion with Cambridge, but we are sure and absolutely certain that there's going to be a certificate, and that helps children whatever way they choose And even if they do an apprenticeship afterwards, they have a chance to show what kind of language level they actually are on an A2 level in the different kind of competence levels. And that helps them also to be actually quite proud to have achieved something like that. And we try to prepare children for the next 4 years to get that certificate. So all in all, and that's really important for me, this book strives to reflect the learner's diversity, and we have a certain diversity language-wise because there are a lot of children who have different first languages, or even, or, you know, 3 different first languages. And we try to integrate every child with every kind of background, cultural background, but also language-wise background. In this book, we integrate the different cultures from all around the world. That's why it's called Global English. And for doing so, we try and create a great awareness of global citizenship. And we are in a time where children Google, children use YouTube. This is their second home. And when they want to have quick information, they just try and get it. But what we need children who learn a language to acquire knowledge, and not just to learn a language because of learning a language. So we try to give them knowledge they can use, and that really pushes them forward for what's coming. I myself, I just want to add, have 3 children of my own, and I can tell you, this is going to be a tough world out there. So we need to give children a lot of support from the English side. We also want to create active and creative learners and thinkers. That's why critical thinking skills are so important. The children are able to use that. For us, it was quite logical when we were younger, but that was a different age. That was totally different age. And we need to get children into this way of learning. And that helps them to meet challenges of the future, and they are able to communicate. They know the words which are important. I give you an example from all the learning strategies, which you will find in the teacher's resource book. So when you use Cambridge Global English, you will also get my teacher's helpful tips, which are, I would say, really easy cheesy. What are they? First of all, when you finish a lesson, every lesson, hand out a Post-it, and you finish on page, I don't know, 26, and you ask the children and say, all right, we finished this lesson, and I want you to write down what you need to remember, or write down a question you want to ask me later on, or whatever you want to memorize, write it on your Post-it and stick it in your book. And that's it. And you start the next lesson with, okay, can some of you please ask me a couple of questions? And believe it or not, children now really start reading out their questions, and you start maybe re-explaining certain grammatical features. And that helps. This is a learning strategy where children, because there was a break between the first and the second lesson, there's a day in between or 2 days in between, and all of a sudden children start reflecting. They learn to write down the most important new words, or they write down a certain grammatical point you tried to bring across, and that helps them to understand what's going on. And when you start with a little wrap up of the lesson that was before a couple of days ago, well, that helps children also to learn to summarize. And this is a very well working learning strategy. And there are many more explained in the book. So finally, if you don't have any more questions, well, now is the time. Write your questions into the chat, and I would like to thank you very much for your attention. I'm very happy to help you if you need any questions to be answered.
Bei anderen Fragen, die vielleicht nicht unbedingt dieses Werk betreffen, können Sie gerne den Veritas Außendienst kontaktieren. Diese Personen hier sind alle für gewisse Bundesländer zuständig. Das können Sie hier ablesen und ganz einfach dann kontaktieren, falls etwaige Fragen auftauchen. Außerdem können Sie auch noch die Kundenberatung kontaktieren. Da sehen Sie hier unterhalb des Bildes die Kontaktdaten. Auch diese werden dann natürlich Ihre Fragen beantworten. Dann möchte ich mich zuerst ganz herzlich für Ihre Teilnahme bedanken. Ich glaube, die Frau Dr. Legionak genauso.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening. And if I've talked too fast, I'm very sorry. Due to my computer, I forgot my charger. I'm on holidays, and it was so very close to get it all done. So thank you very much, and I wish you a great week and coming up holidays. If you're not right now, so Lucas also have a happy holiday next week. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any more questions, please pass them on to Veritas, and probably they will end up on my desk anyway. So all the best and try it out. It's a different point of view. All right. Bye.
Bye.